Oh, you're on the road. You're missing your best non-Aaron Rodgers weapon. Now they're without Alan Lazard, who was also placed on the COVID-19 list. Let's listen to Aaron Rodgers talking about losing his top target.
There's a little bit of a shock factor for sure when it's Davante, but we dealt with it last year. We may be slightly more healthy than some of the other teams as far as not having as many cases, but there have been cases here. We've dealt with them. But when I heard 17, I was hoping that it was going to be one of those false positives for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. You mentioned he missed his top target. How about his top 2 targets? And Alan Lazard as well just came down yesterday. He already knew that Davante Adams was probably not going to play, so mentally he was prepared to do that. They still have a few pieces in place. Still have Aaron Jones. They still have 12. And whenever you have 12, you have a fighting chance. Because really for him, his mind is trained as such if 17 is not available to him because he's covered, you go to somebody else. And if Alan Lazard is not there and 17 is not there, you go to somebody else. So what Aaron Rodgers will be doing from a mental standpoint is visualizing those guys being covered. So he will now have to go to other people. And so with that being said, it's going to be tough to beat Arizona at home in Arizona, but it's not impossible.
Jay, as a fan, how do you feel, like just as a football fan, right? Do you feel like, because I'm trying to do you feel like, okay, this for the confidence of the teams going forward, Arizona likely to remain undefeated, that's really good for them because I see pressure on Arizona.
Yes.
They're at home. Green Bay is not loaded, not fully loaded. If Arizona loses this game, that's a huge boost for Green Bay, and I think a real shot to Arizona's confidence.
But also it proves the point that when you have an elite-level QB, that keeps your team in games. Like there's certain quarterbacks, when you're thinking about Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, that yes, their team could be depleted, but they still have a legit chance to win. And how about the line, even after Lazard, all these guys are out, didn't move. They're still a 6.5-point underdog. It did not move. So Vegas is even betting on the fact that Aaron Rodgers should have a chance. Hence why 20-plus teams should be kicking the tires to find ways to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers on their team. It confirms that point even more.
Yeah, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, the only other guy I've ever seen like him is Mahomes, who's now done it for 3 years, and already we're like, oh, he's not having a great year. Rodgers has done it for 17 years. It's insane. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, all guests on the Goodyear Hotline. So the latest on Deshaun Watson coming up and why a team trading for him would have a huge decision to make even after acquiring him. That's after Key tells you why you should listen to Game 2 of the World Series on ESPN Radio.
We're going to hook up one lucky listener with $2,000 during tonight's baseball championship game. Talking mess.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to put that voodoo on you.
Oh,
Yeah.
we just talked.
I don't care. I'm going to put the voodoo on you. I'm going to do all that. I'm going to mix it up, stick you with a pen, and hope that your franchise never be the same again.
Wow. He's so spiteful, man.
Because there's no need to attack me.
Yeah, but because you've been attacking their system, their air raid system that you don't like. And it's fine that you don't have to like it, but they are one hell of a team. So the kind of two are meeting head to head right now. That's what's happening.
They're a good football team.
They're undefeated.
That has turned things around.
Yes.
They certainly have started to run the ball better.
Yes.
The defense is playing solid and sound.
Mm-hmm.
But we are all waiting for the shoe to drop so we can certainly.
You're waiting for the shoe to drop.
No, a lot of people are waiting for the shoe to drop. To see, what I mean by that, it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. A bad thing meaning, oh, told you so. A good thing is they go and pop a Green Bay and we all go, oh, see, here we go.
I think the only way the shoe drops is if something bad happens to Kyler. Knock wood, that doesn't happen because he was hurt last year. If he stays healthy, those shoes are looking good.
Is shoe drops, is that the right terminology to use? Or is it the bottom?
Yeah, you're waiting for more information to come that's not good. That's not good.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
that's not
I
good.
thought it was like the bottom fall out.
When the bottom falls out,
There you go. Okay.
the shoe drop on both sides. The bottom fall out is one side. People are waiting for the bottom to fall out for the Cowboys. The shoe to drop for the Cardinals.
Okay.
Come on now.
You just put me on, okay. I think shoe drop. I'm like, oh, and then Jordan said that's where I go.
Jeez.
What?
We don't
Basketball,
often
weave it in.
Yeah.
we don't often
Gotta
begin.
find some way to.
We don't often begin the show with baseball. However, they are playing the World Series.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Braves won Game 1. Jorge Soler became the first player to ever start the World Series with a home run, and the Braves are up 1-0 now.
They got him in that Kuna trade, right? I mean, that's.
They lost another pitcher, Charlie Morton. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, presented by Progressive Insurance. Charlie Morton took a 102-mile-an-hour comebacker in the second inning, left in the third inning, but with a broken fibula. So he took the shot in the second inning, didn't leave for another inning with a broken fibula.
Yeah, because it your fibula, sometimes it's just hairline fracture crack.
Yeah.
And then that pain starts to wear. It's not, when people say broke, you think like a pretzel stick.
Full snap.
Yeah, full
like
snap.
in the cartoons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the cartoons.
So what's the baseball?
In a lot of cases, it might be better if it were to fully snap than just have a fracture.
Yeah,
Takes longer
like
to heal.
some injuries are like that. So what is baseball players do not have a reputation for toughness as like football players do or boxers
My
do.
nail hurts. Can't go today.
That was pretty.
Why are you looking at me?
That was pretty tough, though.
Well, basketball,
pretty tough.
Basketball and baseball kind of aligns in terms of that.
Yeah, pretty.
That's
yeah,
all.
that because it's not full contact.
You guys both don't have to stare at me.
You're the
I don't like. It feels
basketball
like you're
player.
teaming up on me.
Nah.
Yeah,
No, but like football players, pain and violence is part of the equation.
We fight through things like getting a scratch. We fight through that.
Really?
Well, that's too much to ask. A scratch?
Yeah, it's like
Jay, he's
This
being
is
unreasonable.
bullying. Oh, shocking.
now he wants to use the word. Now he wants to use the word bullying to have the listeners think that I'm a bully. I know what you're doing. Jay.
Well,
I know what you're doing. It's not going to work here. The Atlanta Braves certainly took care of business against the Houston Astros, and Houston,
Yeah, come on, Atlanta. Come on. I'm rooting for Atlanta.
I'm rooting for Atlanta too. Like,
Yep.
I'm not rooting against Dusty Baker. I like Dusty Baker, but there's a part of me like, even though I know they moved on from cheating, like it's still part of their DNA, and I don't like that.
No,
It's me personally. I don't like it.
No, Dusty Baker came in there 2 years ago to clean things up,
I understand.
and now he's gotten them back into the World Series. You cannot root against Dusty Baker. So if you're rooting against the Astros, you're rooting against Dusty Baker.
No.
Yes, you are.
I can compartmentalize.
I'm seeing the same dudes that cheated the Yankees and the Dodgers out of the World Series. Those same players.
Yeah, but Dusty's there, man.
Listen, that's how some people listen. The fact is, Charlie Morton, who was on that Astros squad, by the way, now pitches for the Braves, stayed another inning before he left. What's the toughest thing you have seen in another sport where you're like, damn, that dude has some kind of pain tolerance or so? Like I was at the Coliseum when Carson Wentz had the leg injury and he completed another 2 passes. Whatever I've ever said about Carson Wentz, I've always acknowledged how tough he is. I once saw a Renzo Gracie fight, MMA, where he was in a submission hold. So you tap out, right? You're done. Had his arm snapped like in the cartoons, right?
Like in a cartoon.
Still didn't tap out. The ref had to stop the fight. He's like, okay, that's enough. Like, I've seen some stuff.
Basketball, probably that they came back and played like that day or maybe the day. Probably
Or just like played through it for a while, or you're like, damn, that dude is tough.
I think that won him a lot of street cred last year was just watching Giannis in that knee. You remember when that knee just kind of went back?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a
that
good
looked
one.
bad.
But he left the game. He didn't come
But
back.
he came back the following game.
Came
back the following
a couple
game
days
and balled
later or
out.
whatever,
Yeah.
I
That
thought he
looked
missed
bad.
the last 2 games after that of that series. I'm trying.
I thought
I've
it came
got my
back
wires
No, he
crossed.
came back.
He came
but
back.
He came back 1 or 2 games later.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came
Listen,
back.
that looked
He
bad.
eventually
It looked
came
bad,
back.
I
That
agree.
looked bad.
In another sport.
But
other
that's
than
different. What
football,
Jay just brought up is different. I think, Jay, what you brought up is, I'm not questioning it was tough to do it, but it was like that's the kind of injury where he's now going to need surgery, and it turned out, thankfully,
Yes.
not to be as bad as it looked. I'm talking about something where afterward you find out, damn, the
what's
bone
bad?
is broken to something, and he played anyway.
See, I've seen a bunch of. I guess I've seen a bunch of it in football, just in general. But you said another sport.
Or it could be football. Take football.
Yeah, I've seen guys have broken this and knocked out that and tear this and still play.
Yeah.
They gut through it and fight through it. I remember as a kid, Jack Youngblood played for the Los Angeles Rams, was a linebacker. He broke his leg, and he played the entire 4 quarters on a broken leg.
Where people are hitting each other. Philip
Philip Rivers played with a torn ACL.
Yeah.
against the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship
in the playoffs,
game.
yeah. Muhammad Ali, and you just saw the documentary, Key, you're raving about it.
Yes.
Ali once fought Kenny Norton, who no one really knew about at the time, but turned out to be a great fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Norton fractured his jaw, and Ali was out of shape, was taking him light, fractured his jaw in the second round.
Yeah, he kept fighting.
12 full rounds, lost a split decision, and Kenny Norton is sharp shooting him on his jaw.
Yeah, I know. I saw the doc. It looked like that hurt, too.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah. On the lighter side, Paul Pierce and Poopgate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was hard to come back from.
Lies, and more lies.
What was that? When he came out in the wheelchair or whatever? When he
No,
got in the wheelchair?
those are two separate
Oh.
instances. Yes, we
Don't do Paul like
need
that.
to do research, more research. This is like X-Files, Paul Pierce, Poopgate.
All right, let's talk about